I recognize the member from Anoka, Representative Niska.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that House File 719 be taken from the table. That's the GO bonding bill.
Representative Niska moves that the Bill 719 be taken from the table. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion prevails. The bill is taken from the table.
Long moves that the action whereby House File number 719 as amended was given its third reading be now reconsidered.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Long.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is my motion. We caught one technical change that we needed to make, and so we need to go back to make that fix.
Representative Niska.
I urge member support.
All those in favor of the Long motion, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion prevails. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 719, an act relating to capital investment.
There is an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Lee F. moves to amend House File number 719 as amended. The amendment is coded A4.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Lee F., to your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Really apologize. We had the project scope wrong, and so we just fixed it, and so hopefully you could support the amendment. Thank you.
Representative Franson.
Members, this bill, my very small technical bill, the bonding bill, is a good bill, and I hope you all vote yes.
All those in favor of adopting the amendment, say aye.
Are we on the amendment still?
Those opposed, nay. Motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. The clerk will give the bill its third reading as amended.
Third reading, House File number 719 as amended.
Third reading as amended. Discussion.
Members, I really was not paying attention, but I am now, and I call you to vote yes on the bonding bill. It's a great bill. Please vote yes.
Representative Lief.
Thank you, members. Vote green.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the name of the member participating remotely.
Burkle.
Go.
Burkle, aye.
Burkle votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 122 ayes and 11 nays, the bill is passed as amended, and its title is agreed to. Motions and resolutions. There are copies of the non-controversial motions at the House desk and online. If there is no objection, we will take action on these motions first. Hearing no objection, the motions prevail.
I'll go for it. Ready? Long moves that the rules of the House be so far suspended so that House File Number 5149 be recalled from the Committee on Judiciary, Finance, and Civil Law, be given its second, third readings, and be placed upon its final passage.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Long, to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is my motion. This is a clone bill of the bill that passed the Senate to have a comprehensive response to Operation Metro Surge, and I would defer to Representative Sencer-Mura to explain the bill.
I recognize a member from Hennepin, Representative Sencer-Mura, to your bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today to support the Long motion with an urgency to take up the comprehensive ICE package passed by the Senate 6 days ago. It's been almost a year since we sat on this floor and collectively made a decision that the way we would balance our budget was on the backs of our immigrant community. At that time, I, along with many members from my side of the aisle, brought an amendment to beg our body to do something different. Sorry, Madam Speaker, I would like the room to be quiet.
Members, take your conversations very quietly to the alcoves or the retiring room. Representative.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I brought an amendment to beg our body to do something different. I spoke about the dangerous road I worried that we were going down, scapegoating immigrants, blaming them, making them the enemy, blaming them for all of our problems, for the reason gas is expensive, housing is hard to find, and our communities aren't as safe as they should be. At that time, I asked us to have that terrible policy of taking health care away from immigrant communities be the ceiling and not the floor for our treatment of the immigrant community, for the harm that that community would be asked to bear. I couldn't have known then, we couldn't have known then, all that would transpire in the next year. We didn't know then that the dangerous road our president led us down in the 2024 election, where he presented a convenient narrative about who was to blame, we didn't know then that that road would lead straight to our beloved state of Minnesota, to our president calling our beloved Somali neighbors garbage, to our president declaring a day of reckoning and retribution on our state. We didn't know that whistles would take on a completely different meaning, becoming our tool for safety when masked men with guns came into our communities. We didn't know that snow days would become ice days. We didn't know that pretty good would become the motto of our country based on the bravery of two extraordinary Minnesotans, as Representative Gomez reminded us earlier this session. We didn't know then what it would feel like to have the federal government wage war on our state. We didn't know then that they would literally take babies off buses or our grandpas in their underwear. We didn't know then that they would kill moms on their way home from school drop-off, leaving blood-spattered stuffies in their wake. We didn't know then, or at least I didn't know then, the name Greg Bavino, or that he would become the face of evil, that he would be invited to this very building on the same day that students were here. Students were here in their house to learn about their government. We didn't know that those kids would be forced to call their parents terrified that they too would get rounded up. But now we know. Last year was sadly just the floor. I hope we have hit the ceiling. What we know now is that we must protect our state from lawless, immoral, masked, and armed wing of our federal government. We must make sure that what happened in Minnesota never happens again, here or anywhere else in this country. Today, in these last minutes left of this session, we have the opportunity to move with urgency and take up the comprehensive ICE package that the Senate passed. This includes ICE out of sensitive spaces like schools, child care centers, courthouses, hospitals. It includes a way to ensure citizens can hold federal agents accountable, and includes a really simple mandate against masked and secret police. All session, we brought these bills to committee, and they have not gotten support from the other side. But in these last minutes, we are trying again. I'm trying because I actually believe that many of us on any side love an immigrant neighbor. I'm trying again today because I've seen pictures of ICE ravaging your city or town in the same way that they ravaged mine. I've seen pictures of Somali grandmas pouring ice water into the eyes of tear-gassed protesters. I've seen pictures of businesses that were locked up for weeks or months. I've seen pictures of families torn apart, and those pictures have come from West St. Paul and Wilmer, Lake Street, and Lakeville. I'm trying because I believe that as neat as we try to believe the lines between us are, our lives are actually messier and more intertwined. I'm trying because I have seen pictures of some of your families, and I know that some of you have children who look more like me than like you, who also might have been afraid to leave their house without their passport. And I'm trying because some of you have told me that you believe we need to pass these bills, that I shouldn't be able to come to places of education or health, that we should protect our kids and follow the policy the federal government had for decades under both Democratic and Republican administrations that kept ICE out of our schools, that law enforcement shouldn't be afraid to show their faces, that people shouldn't be sent to a country they haven't been to for decades without due process. Members, what is our ceiling? What harm are we willing to let our state suffer without doing anything to protect it? That is the question I want each of us to sit with today. We don't get to get out of here without answering that question. Please vote to support the urgency, and I request a roll call.
A roll call has been requested. Seeing 15 hands, there will be a roll call. I recognize a member from Hennepin, Representative Mahmoud.
The need for this legislation should disturb every single one of us. ICE has created a public health crisis. Operation Metro Surge has emptied emergency departments, pediatric clinics, primary care offices, and OBGYN clinics around our communities. People are suffering in silence. People in pain are delaying care because they no longer trust the healthcare spaces are safe from immigration enforcement. Children are missing wellness visits and vaccines. Pregnant people are missing critical appointments, laboring at home, and waiting until the last possible moment to seek medical care. Families are being forced to choose between their health and their fear. Our communities no longer trust that the system meant to protect them actually will. They do not trust that our laws will keep them safe. They do not trust that our healthcare system will protect them when they are at their most vulnerable. But amid this crisis, we also have seen courage. We've seen frontline workers, nurses, doctors, technicians, hospital staff step up to protect our patients during Operation Metro Surge. They have continued to provide care with compassion and humanity, even while carrying the weight of risk of these circumstances themselves. This bill is about restoring trust. This is about ensuring hospitals remain sensitive, safe spaces where Minnesotans can seek care without fear. No one should have to worry about their immigration status, race, or ethnicity when they walk into a hospital. Hospitals must remain places where people can be vulnerable, where people can be sick, and where they can ask for help, and know that they will receive it and will receive care unconditionally, without judgment and without persecution. This is our responsibility as a body. We must ensure that every Minnesotan can access healthcare safely, freely, and with dignity.
I recognize the member from Hennepin, Representative Vang.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Sorry, I'm a little emotional today. I know members are eager to go home, but I have constituents who aren't able to go home because they've been removed from their families and are still detained in ICE detention. And there are only 2 times in my life where I felt unsafe. The first was when I received a phone call in the early morning before the light came in through the windows and was told to not open the door to anyone dressing up as a police officer, and that John Hoffman and Melissa Hortman has been shot. That's the last day of session. Without Melissa. And the death of Representative Mike Nelson. They both have served the city of Brooklyn Park in Minnesota for 20 years. Thank you. And the second time was waking up to federal agents occupying my city. And as an organizer, I've already prepared my neighbors to remain vigilant. But nothing could have prepared us for the chaos that we would witness. My office received a record number of calls, emails, and contacts from all platforms of my office. I soon became almost as good as an immigration attorney, where I had to learn, train, and interpret basic constitutional rights for people of what they should do when they come face to face with a masked federal agent. And I felt fear for my constituents, and I felt fear for myself. The lawlessness of federal agents, racially profiling civilians. I had to think about myself, my own safety plan, what would happen if I were to get picked up while grocery shopping at my local Asian grocery store. How to share my documents with my family, prepare for the worst case scenario. And the reality is, if I, as an elected official, felt fear, I cannot imagine how the children are feeling, how families of mixed statuses are feeling, how those who speak English as their second language are feeling, or those who speak with an accent. Never would I imagine a world where U.S. citizens have to carry their own passports. ICE agents are seriously dumb enough to detain even U.S. citizens. There's been many, many violations of that. I received a call from a constituent who informed ICE knocked on their door while they were gone. And the mom said she's pulling her kids away from her school because she's afraid that they're being followed and being watched. And at a high school in my district, ICE was seen patrolling around school grounds. Students had to be let out one at a time just to feel safe enough to go home. And so, members, Minnesota has seen enough violence from guns, enough violence from masked federal agents invading our cities. It is upon us as duly electeds to meet this moment to restore the safety of Minnesotans. Thank you.
I recognize a member from Anoka, Representative Niska.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. Well, there certainly is a problem that this bill is, that this discussion is identifying, but the bill both misdiagnoses the cause of the problem and offers the opposite answers to the problems. The problem is an entirely Democrat-created problem, a problem created by specific policy choices made by Minnesota Democrats, rolling out a welcome mat of benefits for illegal immigrants, for those who are not here legally, driver's licenses for all, the North Star Promise, taxpayer-funded benefits and paid leave benefits, and active nullification of federal law. If local law enforcement cooperated with federal law enforcement, we would have never seen many of the problems that Minnesota has gone through before. And this bill is exactly the opposite of the correct answer. Creating no-go zones creates the wrong incentives. It places unfair burdens on public employees, asking them to act as gatekeepers for questions that they don't have the legal or tactical training for. It weakens interagency cooperation, weakens public safety standards, and interferes with federal mandates. Our state does not have the constitutional authority to unilaterally obstruct federal law enforcement agents who are performing their duties. The federal government, federal law enforcement has the obligation to enforce the law. We don't get to interfere with them as the state of Minnesota. Certainly, Minnesota has gone through a very, very difficult time, and that is, we appreciate the difficulty of that problem. This bill coming before us is not the solution to that problem. I urge members to vote no.
I recognize a member from Hennepin, Representative Long.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I know we are approaching time, and I think our members spoke very passionately and eloquently, and I urge a green vote.
The clerk will take the roll. The clerk will call the name of the member participating remotely.
Merkel.
Urkel, no.
Merkel votes no.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 67 ayes and 63 nays, the motion does not prevail. There's a motion at the desk. The clerk will report the motion.
Pursuant to Article 4, Section 19 of the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, NISCA moves that the rule therein be suspended and urgency be declared, that the rules of the House be so far suspended so that House File Number 1849, now on the General Register, be given its third reading and be placed upon its final passage.
I recognize the member from Anoka, Representative Niska.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. First, I request a roll call.
A roll call has been requested. Seeing more than 15 hands, there will be a roll call.
And I'll defer to Representative Gordon to present the bill.
I recognize the member from Isanti, Representative Gordon, to your motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Shall the Minnesota Constitution be amended to place a limit of 2 terms on the offices of governor and lieutenant governor, beginning with candidates elected in 2026? HF 1849 proposes this constitutional amendment ballot question. The limit is not retroactive, and the terms begin counting with candidates elected in 2026. This bill passed overwhelmingly in all of its committee stops, and hey, it's a free vote. You might as well vote your conscience. You don't have to listen to leadership on this one. That's it. Thank you.
I recognize member from Hennepin, Representative Freiberg.
Members, this wouldn't take effect until 2030. It's not moving in the Senate, and there is no urgency to pass this. Please vote no.
No further discussion. The clerk will take the roll.
when it's there.
Okay.
The clerk will call the name of the member participating remotely.
Burkle.
Go.
Urkel, aye.
Burkle votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 64 ayes and 69 nays, the motion does not prevail. Recognize a member from Anoka, Representative Niska.
I move that the House do now adjourn.
Representative Niska moves that the House do now adjourn. It will adjourn until 10 a.m. Monday, May 18th, 2026. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion prevails. The House stands adjourned.